Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I get to play my new SHUNDO Mega Ampharos in the Mega Master League for the very first time. While I was casting the Pittsburgh Regional Championships in September, I got my first ever lucky SHUNDO Pokemon, and it was an Ampharos. And the moment I got it, I maxed it out to 50, I Elite TM Dragon Pulse, and then I had to wait for the Mega Master League to return. Well, today is that day. While I know Mega Ampharos is not one of the best Megas you can use in this format, nevertheless, I am still determined to try and make it work. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. And in game number 1, we're off to a strong start leading Mega Ampharos into Zacian. Bonus save switches into Mega Latios, and this is actually a big problem. Mega Latios beats this entire team. It beats Zacian, it beats Palkia, and it beats Mega Ampharos. So my only hope here is to just play the zeros with Palkia and then try and go for an incredibly aggressive farm with Zacian. Zacian is still going to take huge damage from Aura Sphere, as Mega Latios is an absolute terror. However, if I can get a ton of energy, I'm anticipating their final Pokemon is going to be Palkia. So Zacian energy should go very far into this team. I am more than happy to double shield and farm down if that's what it's going to take. Zacian continues to farm, opponent gets nervous, and they're going to pivot out and send in Zacian. Zacian now going to be hit with the back-to-back close combats. Opponent shields up the first. I reach for the Behemoth Blade, and I win the coin flip CMP tie. That's a true 50-50. Behemoth Blade lands, and that is devastating damage onto my opponent's Zacian. They're trapped into throwing this close combat. They can't overfarm anymore, and that means Ampharos gets the full farm down. Now, I am hoping that my team read is right, and it's Palkia in the back. Opponent is waiting down their clock. It's Palkia in the back. They try for a catch of the Dragon Pulse, but they are unsuccessful. Now Ampharos will get to take the knockout with Thunder Punch. Back in comes Palkia, and Mega Ampharos gets to click the Palkia delete button. This is same type attack bonus, Dragon Pulse picking up the one-hit KO, and that is a good game. We've actually got same leads again in the next match, Ampharos into Zacian. This matchup is pretty nice because a close combat does not KO the Ampharos, and due to the electric subtyping, they can't ever Metal Claw down. My opponent is going to save switch into Palkia, and we saw from last game, Dragon Pulse absolutely has to be respected. Dragon Pulse does get shielded, and now I get to send in Zacian. Zacian farming up a ton of energy, but Palkia is absolutely loaded. I decide to respect the Fire Blast, which in hindsight is a terrible play. With how popular Pokemon like Mega Gyarados is, I really don't think we're going to be seeing too many Palkias with Fire Blast, because they need the Spatial Rend to have any chance of hitting for even neutral damage in that matchup. Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail will connect from the Palkia. Back in comes the Zacian. Zacian's going to take big damage from close combat. Close combat is going to land. In comes Ampharos. Ampharos gets the full farm down and exits with the Dragon Pulse loaded. This is perfect because I'm not in one Dragon Breath range, so as my opponent brings in the Palkia, Palkia is about to get one shot. Dragon Pulse takes the knockout in the bag. That's Mega Rayquaza, and that is a very scary sight. However, I was able to preserve a ton of energy on this Zacian. Zacian unleashes Behemoth Blade, Rayquaza puts up the shield, Rayquaza will be forced to throw energy, and I'm always just going to let this go because Palkia with the shield will win this game. Breaking Swipe fails to take the knockout, in comes Palkia, and opponent will resign the match. Great lead in the next match, Mega Ampharos into Primal Kyogre. My opponent safe switches into Zacian, and Ampharos is doing a little bit of core breaking. Ampharos doesn't have the best stats ever, but into these Water plus Fairy teams, Ampharos does prove to be, honestly, a pretty strong pick. I'm more than happy to put up the shield. My opponent is going to bait with the more expensive Behemoth Blade, so that way they don't debuff their defense. This means if they want to, they can shield and go for the close combat. However, I do know this matchup, so I know that from this health range, a close combat will simply fail to KO the Ampharos. So Ampharos will exit this matchup on very low HP, even shields, but I have a charge attack loaded. In comes Dialga, and there was just no way I was ever getting to the Dragon Pulse because Dragon Breaths do too much damage, so I just go for the Thunder Punch to get a little bit of chip damage, and now out comes Zacian. And I intentionally saved that Palkia in the back to have the secondary counter for the Primal Kyogre. Iron Head will land, in comes Primal Kyogre, and it's time. In comes Palkia. And as someone who played a lot of Primal Kyogre last rotation, I know this matchup is so incredibly unfortunate. Palkia's Spatial Rend is going to land, that's very nice damage. And now I decide to respect Thunder. Thunder does come through, so that proves to be a very big shield. And now I can go for an incredibly aggressive farm down. Primal Kyogre does not get to another move. and this game is over. Unfortunately for my opponent, this game was pretty much over from lock-in, just because I had a very favorable team comp advantage with Ampharos doing very well into both the Zacian and the Primal Kyogre. Spatial Rend lands, Aqua Tail lands, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, and we lose. We are ABA weak to Groudon. I switched into one counter, Primarina answers Palkia, and we're not going to waste anyone's time. We're just going to resign the match. We've got a very spicy lead in the next match, Mega Ampharos into Shadow Metagross. There's also the Shadow Shiny Metagross as well, so that's an incredibly cool flex. My opponent safe switch his Palkia, and I send out Zacian. So far, I have yet to see their Mega, but the good news is I don't make the mistake of previous matches by trying to respect the Fire Blast that is never going to come. Instead, I'm just going to play out this matchup. I don't think they're quite in close combat range yet, but with a few more Metal Claws, they should get there. My opponent does put up the shield, and I'm more than happy to shield back, because shields down will usually favor me versus something like a Shadow Metagross. I'm going to fire off the close combat, and if they let this go, I'm going to get aggressive and pivot into the Ampharos. In the back, my opponent is going to be sending out a Mega Salamence. Mega Salamence, an incredibly cool pick. Mega Salamence has to respect the Dragon Pulse. Salamence farms up a ton of energy, and I have to put up the shield because I do have the Dragon Pulse available. So I shield, I click Dragon Pulse, and this is going to be good night, Mega Salamence. Mega Salamence is going to get KO'd. Back in comes the Metagross. Switch timer is up. I throw 2 Volt Switches, and I'm able to send in Palkia. Palkia, I'm just going to go for the Spatial Rend. In hindsight, I should have gone Double Aqua Tail. Double Aqua Tail would have been a lot cleaner of a way to win this game, but it looks like we still do a good amount of damage with the Spatial Rend. My opponent is going to get that farm down, but I can just knock them out with the Volt Switch and take the win, but I get 1 turn Bring In Lag. I haven't had that in weeks, and I get 1 turn Bring In Lag and I lose the game. That should have always been a simultaneous knockout with me taking the win by still having the Zacian in the back, but unfortunately, we lose that game in heartbreaking fashion. We pick up a pretty decent lead in the next match, Ampharos into Primarina. My opponent is going to bank energy, safe switch into the Palkia, and Palkia will have to put up a shield. Now, Primarina is quite scary because I don't have a great response to Palkia other than bringing out my Zacian, but by doing that, I'm burning my best answer to Primarina. So even though I'm up a shield, I don't necessarily feel comfortable with how this game is playing out. My opponent will go for yet another Aqua Tail. I'm at the back-to-back close combat, so I'm eventually going to have to start throwing some energy. Close combat is going to land. That's going to be getting Palkia deep into the red. Palkia immediately undertaps in case I went for the close combat, but I'm just going to take the free Metal Claw and then get that farm down. Primarina does not have a charge attack banked, but it is very close. They reveal their final Pokemon to be a Mega Metagross, and that is an incredibly cool pick. Mega Metagross, I think, is very, very strong, and they're running Fury Cutter, which is the moveset that I do think is the strongest. Because with Fury Cutter, not only do you retain your old wins against Pokemon like Zacian and Palkia, but now you can actually fight back against Gyarados. Primarina charms down, but pays a pretty heavy price, and now I just bring out the Zacian. I'm going to have to make a pretty weird play here. That's shielding, protecting the Zacian, and then not throwing my energy. The condition that I'm trying to set up is a very low health Primarina that I can farm down with Palkia. I don't want to take a lot of damage, but I will need the energy head start to outpace the Mega Metagross. So back in comes the Metagross. I'm going to go for the Spatial Rend. I do know it does slightly more raw damage. Spatial Rend lands, the Dragon Breath after picks up the knockout, and we're able to take the win. We see a very familiar lead in the next match, Mega Ampharos into Zacian. Great lead matchup, very happy to play this out. My opponent doesn't throw right away, so I'm more than happy just to lock in some damage with the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch is going to land. My opponent can go for the close combat, but as we've seen, this just simply does not knock out. But that's not a close combat. My opponent opting for Play Rough over close combat, and that is so bad. They're going to be pivoting a Palkia into my Palkia. I'm up a turn, but my goodness, what an incredibly unfortunate turn of events. My opponent breaking out the spicy moveset, and unfortunately, it pays dividends. My opponent will go for the Spatial Rend. Here, this can only be an Aqua Tail, so I'm more than happy to let this go. I'm thinking that hopefully, I'm going to get an energy advantage on Zacian by going for an Aqua Tail and then a Metal Claw farm down, and that energy lead on Zacian is what's going to win me this game. So I get the energy head start, but it's a Primal Kyogre in the back. I was making the hard read that they were trying to bait out the Zacian, so I saved the Zacian, but unfortunately they were actually pivoting from a position of weakness rather than of strength. So a good bluff by my opponent, and unfortunately one that is going to doom me to a loss in this game. Kyogre is going to get the farm down. Back in comes Palkia, but Palkia is just simply too low. Palkia will be shielding up the Surf. Opponent's going to pivot back into the Zacian. I do get the back-to-back Aqua Tails, but unfortunately, this Zacian has just enough HP to withstand the Aqua Tail, and we will lose the game. We move to the next match, leading Ampharos into Mega Gyarados, the battle of the Megas. Gyarados can typically prevail the more shields that are in play, just because Gyarados is very, very spammy and does have great bulk as well. But my opponent opts to play out the zeros, and that works out great for me. I'm going to shield. If they're staying in, I'm anticipating that they could potentially be weak to Ampharos in the back. So they send out Dialga, and things get a little bit complicated. I Dragon Pulse, I get the shield, and now I decide to send out Zacian. This is a bit of a weird play. I'm switching in my hard counter, but I wanted to try and preserve the Ampharos. And in the back, my opponent reveals they have their own Zacian. So they have a double steel team in the back supporting this Gyarados. A composition like this honestly surprises me quite a bit because my opponent is incredibly weak to an opposing Zacian. They let themselves get as low as possible before taking the knockout with the Behemoth Blade, but now I just get a nice energy head start on the Palkia. Back in comes the Dialga. Dialga is very, very healthy, so I'm going to go for the bait. Fire off the Aqua Tail into Dialga, and they end up no-shielding. Now, that is a little bit unfortunate. However, now that they've no-shielded an Aqua Tail, I'm just going to start spamming Aqua Tails at them and basically just forcing their hand. The question will be, can Ampharos hang on to make a last-second charge attack? If it can, Ampharos should be able to win this game. Well, I'm able to make an Aqua Tail, so now it might just come down to Volt switching down. It's going to be very, very close. Ampharos is going to have to clutch this game for me. Ironhead takes the knockout. In comes the Ampharos. Ampharos Volt switches down. Thunder Punch will not be needed. And that's a good game. Oh, great lead in the next match. Mega Ampharos into Urshifu. Urshifu staying in this matchup. That works out great for me. My opponent makes a very nice catch. The Dialgas are starting to come out. As Dialga will get the catch of the Thunder Punch, I decide to rebank the Thunder Punch and then send out the Zacian. The fact that they caught desyncs the timers, and I further desync the timer by banking the Thunder Punch, but I feel like that energy will be pretty valuable later on. So now, I just continue to farm up a ton of energy with the Zacian. Zacian gonna be hit with the back-to-back Iron Heads. My opponent's switch clock is up, and out comes Urshifu. Normally, Urshifu can survive a close combat, but they're not at full HP. They had taken several Mega Volt switches, and they will not be surviving. My opponent will probably send in their third here, so when they bring back in Dialga, honestly, that surprises me. Because they don't really have a lot of fast move pressure, so now I'm actually going to pivot out and send in the Palkia. Them bringing Dialga back into the Zacian tells me whatever they have in the back also doesn't have fast move pressure into the Zacian, so I wanted to preserve it if at all possible. Now Palkia will look to overfarm quite a bit before taking the knockout with the Aqua Tail. Down goes Dialga. In the back, they have Mega Gyarados, and my theory was proven correct. Their final Pokemon also had no fast move pressure into his Zacian. Spatial Rend lands, that's some very nice damage. I'm able to get to the Aqua Tail, but my opponent is going to be CMP tying and taking the knockout with Aqua Tail. And now in comes Mega Ampharos, and look at these Volt Switches go. Ampharos only one Volt Switch away from the back-to-back Thunder Punches. Ampharos is going to get there, and that's going to seal my opponent's fate. I do have the back-to-back, and if they shield, I can switch and snipe down with the Zacian that I preserved from earlier to secure the win. Ampharos into Primarina in the next game. We both hit each other for super effective damage, but it's still a pretty fine matchup. Opponent safe switches into Palkia, and I'm expecting this is going to be a triple water team with Primal Kyogre in the back. And if that's the case, then things are honestly looking really good for me. Palkia is going to spam on Aqua Tails as they often do, and here, arguably, I throw this close combat too early. It's typically better to let the Palkia throw their second Aqua Tail, so that way you're able to absorb that damage no problem, and the second Aqua Tail landing won't put you into farm down range, because now my opponent will actually have the ability to double shield and farm me all the way down, because I didn't throw my charge moves in the correct order. I should have waited for them to fire off the second Aqua Tail first, so that's entirely my fault. However, if this is going to be Primal Kyogre in the back, then I'm still going to win anyway, because Ampharos will be able to sweep. My opponent will go for another Spatial Rend. At this point, I have lost count. They make a third one. Oh my goodness, please do not be a Spatial Rend. Thankfully, it is just the Aqua Tail. All right, show me that Kyogre. No, it's a Groudon! And we just lose. This team, unfortunately, has nothing for Primal Groudon if it's not aligned to Palkia. I thought I was okay. I was expecting it was going to be the triple water team because that was a very popular team last rotation, but not. It's Groudon. Look at Groudon just farming down my hopes and dreams, and we will lose that game. Hopping into the final match, leading Mega Ampharos into Mega Metagross. What I didn't realize till now is Mega Metagross doesn't have a nameplate yet in game. If you look at the top right, it just says Mega, so it does not say Mega Metagross. But either way, Metagross is unfortunately going to bait me with a Meteor Mash. I think this Thunder Punch will not knock out, but it could potentially set up a Dragon Breath Snipe from Palkia. So I go for the Snipe. Opponent is able to save Metagross on very low HP and send in their own Palkia. The important thing to note is they are behind on energy. Since they're behind, I'm not baiting. I full send the Spatial Rend, and my opponent sniffs it out and puts up a shield. I decide to shield back, anticipating my opponent will think a bait is too risky, and now I can just go for the Spatial Rend. When my opponent Captized me, I know that this cannot possibly be a Spatial Rend because I was up energy in the mirror, and we both threw Spatial Rend. So it's only going to be an Aqua Tail. My opponent is trying to get whatever chip damage that they possibly can. In the back is Primarina, and I actually concede the farm down in order to preserve an ability to switch. Primarina will be able to spam out Hydro Cannons onto Zacian. Zacian gonna be taking a solid amount of damage there. Zacian continuing the farm. Opponent tries for the catch, but they do not get it, and they will resign the match. After playing quite a few sets of Mega Ampharos, I will say it was a pretty enjoyable experience. This team structure was created by Zerofalros, so I do owe credit to him, as he hit Legend with a very similar team, but instead of Mega Ampharos, he had Zekrom with this exact same backline. So I figured if I was going to run Mega Ampharos, I should try and run something similar, and honestly, it worked out pretty okay. I think I went about even. I did see a few more Groudon than I was hoping to, and as you could gather from the Groudon games that I showed, those games went pretty spectacularly poorly. But in exchange, I did get to core break quite a few of the Water plus Fairy teams that are really difficult to break otherwise. So it did end up being a very fun Pokemon to use. As I mentioned at the start, it's not a top Mega for this format by any means. I would say the top Megas indisputably are Gyarados, Metagross, Latios, Kyogre, and Groudon. I don't think I'm missing any off that list, but I would say those are easily the best top 5. While Ampharos is definitely a tier below those absolute meta titans, I do think that with good support, Mega Ampharos definitely does have the ability to win in the Mega Master League. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not. And an extra special thank you to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.